Hi, my name is Terra Carpenter, and for my undergrad project, I decided to focus on modeling. I decided to make multiple models so I can have some variety, both large and small objects. For my first two models, I decided to make spaceships. I used previous Star Wars ships and Star Wars concept art as inspiration for these designs. For the other models, I made props that have been used in the Star Wars movies.
Hi, my name is Shelby Gary. I'm currently a senior at Dakota State University. I'm in the Digital Arts and Design program, majoring in production animation, specifically for 2D animation. For my undergrad project, the fall semester of 2020, I have done visual development work for my student film titled Diner Dash. The film can be equated to monster speed dating. It follows a demon girl who has come to a diner that's doing speed dating. The film shows this girl going through different monster guys until finally coming to a nice werewolf who she spends most of her time with, in between our silly and goofy antics from all the other characters involved. I focused on the visual development of this film because I wanted to make sure everything was working together and stayed coherent and constant. It'll also help me to later on actually finish the film and having it for possible employers to see what kind of skills I can bring to the table. I worked a little bit on backgrounds, which I've never been very good at, so it helped me to overcome that obstacle and work on making it simple but also recognizable. Next, I went through a series of different phases for the character sheets / models, starting very sketchy and loose ideas before finally coming to a nice style that works with all the characters. My main two characters are the demon girl, SILHOUETE, and the werewolf boy, Wilfred. Next, I worked on the more side characters that play a decent part in the film, which are the other monsters SILHOUETE goes on speed dates with. This includes a vampire named Vampire, a zombie named Zomben, and a slime guy named Craig. After getting all these characters down and really liking the final character sheets I did for them, along with the turnarounds, I worked on the even further background characters, ones you would only see for a little bit. These included the waiters of the diner and the dragon chef. And after getting all the characters and background characters done, I went on to work on some pencil tests for the project, to see how it would work, how to simplify the characters, etc. I did a storyboard for a small little scene I wanted to do the pencil test on, but changed up the final pencil test to be a bit shorter and easier to handle, seeing as how we were coming into the final few weeks of classes. I focused my energy into a short clip, which is this. And that concludes all I created during the fall 2020 semester in undergrad. I really enjoyed working on this project, and it taught me a lot about how it would be to work in an actual animation field. I'd like to thank Daniel for being such a wonderful teacher and really pushing me to be as creative and as motivated as I was during the semester.
Hello, my name is Patrick Bamberg. For my undergrad project, I designed 2D characters and animated them inside a 3D space. The animated short that I designed is about two wizards, one a fire wizard and one a ice wizard, that decided to go ice skating one day. The fire wizard disliked ice skating because, of course, fire, but the ice wizard insisted. For one part, the ice wizard froze the water and then tried to drag the fire wizard onto the lake. When I first came up with the characters, they kind of looked realistic, and then Daniel suggested I make them more cartoony and simple. For the background, I used Maya to make the mountains and then the water particles. For the characters, I was going for more like they were going to be wizards. One's an ice wizard and then the other is a fire. Here you can see the before and after of the ice wizard. Here you can see the before and after of the fire wizard. I like the cartoony style a lot better because it was that, and it's a lot easier to animate. And here you can see the before and after of the background. I like the style of the toon kind of style. The one problem with the background, it took forever to render out. For both the characters, it was a fun process trying to come up with ideas of how to improve each one of them, and going through the process of figuring out the design of the head and the body. Due to time constraint and me having too much to handle for the animation, I had to cut out the final scene of them actual ice skating. But all in all, I thought this turned out pretty well. In the near future, I probably will come back to it and fix some stuff.
Hi, I'm Holly Sandow, and this is my undergrad project. While trying to decide what to do for my undergrad project over the summer, I thought about my friend's Dungeons & Dragons campaign. Dungeons & Dragons is a tabletop fantasy game that gives everyone the power of creating your own characters and story, and their actions are determined by rolling dice. I have been playing this campaign with my friends for 3 years now. I will admit, I used to hate D&D in the past, but now, because of my friends, I have grown to enjoy the game so much more. One other inspiration for my project was Critical Role, a YouTube channel where famous voice actors come together and play Dungeons & Dragons. I have never watched this series before, but the one thing I loved was the intros. Listening to the music and seeing the characters come to life filled me with happiness and inspiration. I suddenly decided that I wanted to make my own intro. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough people nor time to make my own introduction. Instead, I decided to make a cinematic image. When I was in Art D 386, one of the assignments was creating a cinematic image with character silhouettes, character sheets and expressions, a logo, thumbnails, and a final image. I first had to make the characters. Around July of 2019, I already created my first design of my D&D character. Her name is Oriri Silverfur, a fur-bull cleric. However, she went through a couple changes, mostly her clothes at first. During undergrad class, my professor and I did some research on fur-bulks to make my model accurate to the Dungeons & Dragons description. Afterwards, I had to make a new pose for her. Her original pose had her hands behind her back and a very basic stance. After making the first pose, I liked it, but I knew I could do better. I returned to square one by making 20 different silhouettes of Oriri. After having my professor approve some poses, I drew Oriri in those poses. Afterwards, I picked out my favorite pose. Then, I made the front and backs and added some finishing touches. Next, I made 10 different expressions for Oriri. After that, I made her color palette, shaping them as diamonds since gems are a part of her origin story. After some finishing touches, Oriri's character sheet was done. Next, I needed to make Tevin McCoy, a druid Kejealousy, which is half elf, half dryad. I made a sketch of Tevin in July of 2020. However, I absolutely hated it and didn't know what to do to make him look right. I did the same things as stated above, with silhouettes, character designs, both front and back, expressions, and a color palette. I used leaves this time because of his druid nature. Next was the logo. When it came to the logo, I wasn't sure what I should do. I got some ideas from looking at Critical Role merchandise and discussing with the Dungeon Master, Evan Winters. I first looked up a ton of different fonts, and then arranged them in different ways. Afterwards, I got hit with inspiration from Critical Role's crest symbols and made some with our title. I wanted to talk to my D&D group about coming up with a group name because I wanted their input on this because it was our campaign. We came up with a lot of ideas, from most idiotic legendary fighters to Steel Fury. We all agreed on this title and logo, The Adventures of Illyria, Dragon Tales. I then came up with ideas for my overall cinematic image. Throughout the story, there aren't too many times where Tevin and Oriri interacted with each other. One idea was when the Dragon's Tail headed to a festival and they participated in fun carnival games such as the giant cornhole game. Another was them chilling in a tavern and drinking. A very generic idea. Finally, I had 2 ideas that involved a dungeon or a torture room. While they were in a fire giant territory, Oriri was ambushed by a fire giant that is a follower of an evil group known as the Aberration. The fire giant was thrown into a dungeon, and Tevin and Oriri went to confront him. One idea was the first entrance, where Oriri and Tevin see the giant, and the one I chose. Oriri gets done intimidating the giant, kills him with holy fire, and leaves him dying from her flames. Tevin then tries to heal the giant, and the remaining flames kill him again. Finally, my little surprise. Before I decided to just do a cinematic image for my project, I messaged Mason Weeman, a senior with an audio major at DSU and a good friend of mine from high school, to help me make a song for the project. I asked him to make a song that felt and sounded adventurous, thrilling, and epic. We worked together to make a Spotify playlist for inspiration. Afterwards, he went to work on creating the song, and I implemented it into my cinematic image. Overall, I thought the project was a lot of fun and taught me how to come up with interesting character designs. In the future, I plan to create the rest of the crew, make another cinematic image with everyone, and hopefully make my own intro similar to Critical Role's intros. To end this off, I wanted to thank Professor Daniel Sayman, along with Mason Weeman, Evan Winters, Brendan Wilson, Madison Whitcomb, Connor Merriweather, Eric Cordell, and Cody Hasse for their input on this project. Without you all, this project wouldn't have been possible. With that being said, please enjoy!
A guild of friends comes together now and sets forth with one goal. Their eyes are set up on the challenge now as they step into their roles. Fierce, willful fighting and dangers lie ahead. From bandits to ogres, they'll surely be dead. Traveling the land led by their quest. Each city they enter shall revere their bloodshed. Stand up, fight, roll the dice, choose your destiny. Through blood and fire with every trial they slay the Almighty. So lie, fight, risk your life, stare death in the face. Your yearning for what lies ahead will be your guiding grace. Destiny. Through blood and fire with every trial they slay the Almighty. So lie, fight, risk your life, stare death in the face. Your yearning for what lies ahead will be your guiding grace. Stand up, fight, roll the dice.
Hello, my name is Trudy Jones, and for my undergrad project, I made a short animation called Beggars Can't Be Choosers. It's a silly little story about a pompous dog that comes across a beggar pup on the street, and instead of sparing him some change, he throws a cigarette into the coin cup instead. Little does he know, the beggar can turn into a monster. Intimidated, the dog quickly pulls out some cash and puts that into the coin cup, and the monster is satisfied. The two characters are animals because drawing animal characters is a strong suit of mine, and I tried to keep their designs simple while still being expressive. The backgrounds I kept to simple lines as well because I didn't want them to deter focus from the characters. As always, I bit off a bit more than I could chew for this project, and ended up choking for the last few weeks. There are some shots I had to cut in order to finish the entire piece, but despite that, I'm still pretty pleased with the outcome.